The James Show Podcast.
The evidence that we have now points to a professional or at least semi-professional job. There was planning involved in this. So it wasn't a crime of opportunity or mistaken identity or lady fell down, bumped her head, then wandered off. This is a sure enough kidnapping. And it's not by someone who's a complete idiot. They had to have some sort of knowledge of the security system, although it seemed to surprise him at first because he walked up and seized the camera. Somehow they knew to take the infrastructure from the inside of the house that was backing up the camera. We still got the video from the system that it was connected to wirelessly, I'm sure. But you can go see the evidence on WBAP.com. But that points to probably brother-in-law is the most popular theory going on right now. Second most popular theory is there's an Epstein connection. It's hard to argue against this because even though there's a complete lack of evidence, it's really hard to believe that there's this much of a coincidence. We don't really believe in coincidences that much. In fact, you know, if there's a coincidence that's too stark, you might want to adjust your worldview because it's probably not a coincidence. You've probably stumbled onto something a little bit bigger than that. Now, here is a brief description of one of the competing theories here from an online independent reporter, Proud Shrimper's daughter.
Well, I tell you what, I went down a rabbit hole this morning. I had an extra hour before I had to get up and get ready for work. I went down the rabbit hole of Savannah Guthrie. Now, we've all heard about her mother being kidnapped out in Arizona, but I dug a little farther. Her husband, his last name is Feldman. He worked for the Clintons the 8 years they were in office, okay? He started a company called Grover Park. Basically, what they were scrubbers. They would scrub the internet of anything bad that they did not want the public to find out. They would scrape the whole internet. So when you did a search, you couldn't find out anything about it. How much you want to bet? Because the Clintons are going in front of Congress that they struck out to this guy because he was their cleaner. We've all heard about the 50-some-odd people that have had questionable deaths behind the Clintons. We've all heard about them. Not one person in this country has not heard about them. So how much you want to bet they want to keep this guy silent to get his mother-in-law back? So tonight I'll end up having to do some more research, but right now I don't have time. But if you have time today, please go down that rabbit hole because you are going to find out so much information. It's going to go boom in your head. You go, oh, hell, she might be on to something. But mark my words, this has something to do with the Clintons.
Yeah, I think I disagree with that because the flimsiest part of that premise is that you could silence a guy. You could threaten a guy by, you know, if you don't do what we say, we're going to harm your mother-in-law. And on this one, hey, if you give out the information that makes the Epstein clients face justice, we're going to harm your mother-in-law. Dude, a lot of guys would pay you to harm their mother-in-law. A lot of guys would give up their mother-in-law for half a cup of coffee. Eric in Salina, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, go ahead. What's your theory?
I was thinking maybe a drug cartel or possibly illegal alien or some type of gang.
So that is probably the third most popular theory. Mexican cartels have made a cottage industry in Mexico doing this, and they're within close proximity of Mexico. Savannah Guthrie's a public person. She's the host of the Today Show. We know she's making tens of millions of dollars, and she has the means and wouldn't miss the money and probably has it liquid and can transfer it almost immediately. So it's not a crazy theory. It looks like it's professional enough that maybe it is a cartel. However, the fellow looks white. The surveillance video is terrible, so I very well could be wrong. But if I had to guess one of the races. I think this is a white fellow, which doesn't exclude it completely from being cartel, just makes it less likely to be cartel. What do you think, Eric?
I really haven't got a good, view of that picture yet. So I'm not sure on that, but I really haven't heard anyone mention, cartel or illegal aliens or anything like that. So.
Yeah, well, I should probably re-mention it because I did go through the popular theories at the beginning of the show, but that was like an hour ago. So yeah, the top 3 theories. Number 1 is it seems to be the internet ninjas, the sleuths think Annie Guthrie's husband is the most likely culprit. Annie Guthrie being Savannah Guthrie's sister. So sister and brother-in-law are that's the number 1 theory going on. Number 2 is Epstein. Number 3 is Mexican cartel. So those, and it seems to be so many of the other theories that we were talking about yesterday, they've been eliminated because we have this new evidence.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Eric and Salina. And just to kind of spell it out, things we were talking about yesterday that are no longer viable theories. What if it was the guy that was just there fixing the porch or hammering the deck around the hot tub together and he saw a crime of opportunity? Or if some guy was mowing the lawn, he found out, oh, this is Savannah Guthrie's house. I bet you they have a lot of money. I'll just take them on. So it's not a crime of opportunity. There was some pre-thought. There was some planning into this. And I don't know if it's pro or semi-pro, but we can eliminate it was just some guy walking by and saw an opportunity or some guy who found out in the moment. And we also know that there is a kidnapping for sure, because even though there's I don't know if there's zero evidence of forced entry, but that seems to be something that's questioned. Joe Cardinale was talking about that in the last hour. And coming up next, I have another guy who's a former cop that we can filter some of this information through his experience as well. He used to be with the New York City Police, former Marine Corps veteran, Greg Sanfilippo. Am I saying that correctly? We'll find out next. But your theories are welcome too. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Do you think it was brother-in-law? Do you think it was the Epstein connected? Do you think it was the Mexican cartel? Or do you have a theory of your own? They're all welcome now until we get more evidence. My next guest, Greg Sanfilippo, he is a former policeman. And, when you do these cases and you see these on TV, you can't help but see things the rest of us don't see. As a former cop, what does this new evidence tell you, Greg?
Hey, James, thanks for having me. Right. So not only in my former role with NYPD Intel and Counterterrorism, Marine Corps, Army Reserve, and now private sector security, there are definitely things that you're seeing from when an investigator looks at this is, who do we exclude, right? So one, hey, these things, kidnappings in particular, don't start when when the violence happens. These start with information prior to that. So here you had individuals, we see one in the camera, but more than likely at least one helping somewhere behind the scenes, targeting, again, most likely targeting specifically, Miss Guthrie for reasons still unknown, but, doing that digital surveillance, finding out things about her habit of life, her location, right? Things that they can also then put back in the notes if the notes do turn out to be verified, which I do believe that there are clear signs that there was some facts in that, at least that first ransom note. So, then you look at, where this doorbell is, and even, with kidnappers possibly doing digital surveillance, this fell undercover. It was hard to see. Right. So you're seeing someone that's walking up to the door and then kind of observes the Ring doorbell. So there were ways to obstruct their visuals from that camera. They weren't prepared for that. He wasn't prepared to go there with, something to cover his movement to the front door until he sees that camera and then says, hey, let me try to cover this up at that point. So,
okay, but Greg, does that tell you it's not a pro?
There's pre-planned aspects of this 100%. And then you look at the weapon, where he's carrying that weapon. I can almost guarantee you that person had zero military experience, or law enforcement would not be carrying a weapon in that position. Very odd where he's carrying that weapon. Very unusual for someone that had professional military or professional police experience.
Okay, describe that just to someone who hasn't seen the video. How would you describe the gun positioning?
The gun positioning is just odd. It's right in the center line of his body, down very low in his crotch area, right? So, that low midline carry is, you're carrying it off to your side. You're carrying it high on your chest. If you're carrying it low, it's down on your leg, not right in the center of your crotch, because you have to bend down. You're going there to kidnap someone, right? Odd spot to carry that weapon if you had some sort of experience. And, so it's absolute that they didn't, this wasn't just random. They just went upon some odd house and just was going to abduct somebody. So they did surveillance, but, perhaps not the professional level that, a lot of people were attributing them to have, just based on that, how they approached the doorbell. And then, from how they're carrying themselves, then giving themselves clear indicators to investigators, right? I can identify a gait. I can identify a body size. I can see, skin color. Using technology, you can probably get eye color. You're not seeing it on what's released, but with a little bit of technology, a lot more can be gained from that.
All right. So level of pre-planning, but not professional level of pre-planning. This is why a lot of people are saying brother-in-law. He knew the lay of the land somewhat, but wasn't smart enough to think, oh, well, what about the Ring doorbell camera until the last minute? And carrying his gun wrong is another good piece of evidence there. So I think more of this is pointing toward brother-in-law, which means it's pointing away from the idea that it was an Epstein-inspired professional hitman.
Well, investigators have been working this case for 11 days now. These are incredible professionals that do this day in, day out. The amount of resources that have been committed to this from a national level, FBI, special teams, right? It's so easy to, and that's the investigatory process, is first start excluding. Okay, let's start excluding people. So, I hear everyone that, says, hey, maybe it's the son-in-law, but, from an investigatory standpoint, that's a ground ball just to exclude inner circle where they've been based off of all sorts of technology. So again, popular theory, but so easy to exclude that I don't buy that at this point.
Yeah, it's not the leading theory, but it's in there. Can we rule out Mexican cartels?
This point, pre-planning, kind of semi-professional, but then still, with a little bit of bumbling here. I don't think you can exclude that. No.
Right. Okay. Well, hey, that's a great breakdown. I really appreciate this. How do we find your work online, Greg?
Oh, if you go to Doyle, DOYLE, securityservices.com, and feel free to reach out with any questions via the website.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Greg Sanfilippo from Doyle Security Services, breaking it down. Your theories, I'd love to hear them. 800-288-9227. This is Max in Mesquite. You're next up on WBAP. Ready?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Max.
Hey, I was just going to say I haven't heard this theory, but I think that you can't eliminate the Democrats. I mean, they're almost like a cartel from what I understand.
Well, a lot of people were saying more specifically the Clintons, but what do you just mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm talking about the whole batch of them.
Well, whoever's rolled up in the Epstein list, I think that's going to be a bipartisan group of people, or one of the two administrations would have released it by now. And so I don't think it's necessarily Democrat. I think it might be the people who are worried about getting rolled up in this Epstein case.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's the second most likely theory. I still think the brother-in-law is the more likely theory based on the evidence at hand.
Yeah, I guess that's all we'll find out. It'll all come out in the wash, I guess, maybe.
Well, I mean, I can't rule it out, Max.
It's the liberals, yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so that's Max in Mesquite. This is Rodney in Frisco. You're on WBAP.
Hey, how about just a robbery gone bad? Nancy got in the way. She was a casualty. They took the body, dumped it, and then somebody else has just jumped on the bandwagon of calling in for a ransom.
Yeah, so robbery gone bad. You wouldn't take the body with you, would you?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of panic issue there if they hadn't planned on it. I think a professional hit, they could have done all kinds of stuff, broken neck, just left her there. All kinds of different things that could have happened professionally. It just the ransom deal I don't buy. I think that might even be separate from the whole incident, and somebody just trying to make a buck on what's going on.
Right.
The other stuff it's good, but it just doesn't. A lot of it just don't make no sense.
Why not brother-in-law?
Yeah, I don't think he's. I think he's out of it. I don't buy it.
Well, the main argument against the crime of opportunity is that there was some level of planning and some level of inside knowledge. That's the big pushback against that. I'm not saying you're wrong, Rodney, because we don't know.
Surely he would have known about a camera in the front.
Well, if he didn't think about it until he got there, he's like, "Oh crap, I forgot about she got this camera last year." He tried to put some thinking into it, and then after he saw the camera, he knew to go pull the module from the inside that did the storage and ran the control module. I don't know what they're called. I have one, and I don't know what they're called. But yeah, that's
right.
All right, Rodney. Rodney signs on to maybe just a crime of opportunity. Maybe just another burglary gone wrong. It got messy and doesn't have anything to do with Epstein or the brother-in-law. This is Eddie in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP. What's your theory, Eddie?
So I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that this was a professional hit.
Okay.
Just by looking at the person, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not convinced that it's a male. I know there's a mustache there, but that's easily faked. But take it piece by piece. One, the person was wearing mittens instead of fingered gloves. You'll never see any kind of tactical person wearing mittens unless they're in, Iceland or something.
Wait, were those mittens? They look like actual gloves with fingers in them. They look like latex gloves. Now, they were a little thick, but some people just have fat hands, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Secondly, the pistol he was carrying, he had it hanging directly in the front. And that looked like a drop-in holster, and it was kind of long. That looks to me like Grandpa's old revolver he's got hanging out the front of his pants there. So I don't see that being a tactical guy either. So I'm just not, I'm just not buying that whole theory. I'm going with maybe somebody was paid to go in there and do this. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm with you. If it was a robbery gone bad, they would have just knocked the poor old lady in the head, took what they wanted, and be gone. From what I understand, I've not heard them say anything that was taken from the house as far as any kind of robbery.
Yeah, nothing was taken from the house except for the equipment from the camera system. And so I looked at, I went to WBAP.com, clicked through on the headline link, and there's a couple of still pictures. One of them, when he's holding up the plant, you can see that the gloves do have distinct fingers. But on this other one, it does kind of look like mittens when he's putting his right hand in front of the camera. Yeah. But when he has the plants in his left hand, and I don't know why he picked up plants. What the hell was that? You can see there's fingers in the gloves. But no, I appreciate you bringing that up. So you're leaning toward brother-in-law?
Yeah, but I'm probably saying that for sure. And then, like I said, just the way that firearm is hanging directly in the front and the type of holster that it is.
Isn't that how Walter White carried his handgun in the documentary Breaking Bad? I know, it's not a documentary. Thank you very much, Eddie. Ann from Facebook said, hey, why don't you follow up on Tommaso's bandmate? He looks like he could be the guy. And so, yeah, you know what? That's worth a mention, too. glad you mentioned that because Tommaso Cioni became a power of attorney here that's being passed around on X. I guess this document's real. This isn't coming from super reliable sources. This is coming from Matt on X. But it looks like there's a power of attorney for Nancy Guthrie, and Tommaso would be that guy. Okay. Let's see if anything comes of that. Now, look, I've used power of attorney in just a harmless situation before. Me and Miss Parker were buying and selling a house on the same day, and we were in two different places. So I had to sign up a power of attorney so she could sign the paperwork on buying the new house. I had to have her power of attorney so I could sign the paperwork on the selling of the previous house. And so that doesn't mean something's untoward, but it could be he's the guy that if he has power of attorney, he controls all of her finances should she go missing or be incapacitated. But not if she dies. Then it goes to the estate plan. Then it goes to probate. So, all right. I like that theory. And I love all the tips. Keep sending me tips. Keep sending tips. And thank you for your tip on Facebook. Let's go to Ken in Arlington. Hey, Ken, you're on WBAP. Your theory.
I think it's Jake Paul. I think he's trying to get some of that money back when he got his jaw broke because he's got that boxing glove on.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was listening to Sean Hannity earlier. He said it was Bad Bunny.
Yeah, it probably is. It's a combination of both. But I think it's in the inner circle of family, friend, or relative, and I don't think it's outside of that.
What's the motive then?
One of the power of the attorney, or, like when we discussed yesterday, they were the caregiver and they got tired of being the caregiver thing. So any number of things, or to draw attention away from the Clintons because of the Epstein file.
Man, that's a lot of theories there, Ken.
Well, I'm the type of theory guy, so I mean.
Well, I'm asking you to narrow it down.
Draw attention away from the Clintons because of the Epstein files that got released.
Yeah, there's not evidence for that. It's just you and I have learned that it's really hard to have a coincidence that stark. All right, I appreciate the call. Thank you, Ken in Arlington. Let's go down to Lakewood. Roberto in Lakewood, you're next up on WBAP. What's your theory, Roberto?
Man, I know a guilty brother when I seen one. And that brother-in-law, man, he be guilty as all get out. The only way she's still alive is if a family member took her. She was on medicine. She need that medicine every day. Stay alive. I ain't saying she alive, but if she alive, it had to be a family member. Only question I got is, why are we just now seeing this Ring camera footage? Wasn't it the police telling us last week that the Ring camera was destroyed or it was broken, and somehow now they're getting footage from it?
Well, both things can be true, Roberto. If the camera can be damaged and they could have taken the console from the inside of the house. But also, if that thing is connected up to wireless, which mine's hooked up to wireless because I can look at my front door right now on my phone. I got an app. So that means the image did have access to be stored somewhere else. And so somewhere in the Google universe, they went and found the server that this thing was stored on and pulled it. But that also tells us something creepy. That means this stuff is being recorded elsewhere.
Yeah. And only thing is, like you said, the eyebrows. I mean, the brother's got some thick eyebrows, the caterpillar kind of eyebrows. And if you be seeing him in some of them clips where they all talking, sitting there as a family, man, his hands kind of moving, he kind of shaking a little bit. I don't know, man. He's suspect.
He's a suspicious dude. Okay, Roberto.
Yeah.
Roberto's looking at brother-in-law. And boy, those eyebrows, they are substantial, aren't they? They look like they're about to take over his face.
The James Show Podcast.